everybody, it's Annette Green here. I want to show you today how you can make your own planner. It's not difficult. It is fairly simple. It's just a little time consuming, and if you have the time and you have some pretty paper, this is the perfect project. So there's a number of ways that you can approach making your own planner. I just like a really clean, plain planner that I can then dress up my own way and use my own papers and my own style. So that's why I like to make my own. It's very personal to me. And so I have made my own in the past. This was one from a couple of years ago. This is Graphic 45's Time to Flourish beautiful collection. Just made my own using the paper collection with the calendars, and I did make my own pages on the computer, but I just used the pretty papers to embellish like some sides of pages and then backs of blank pages like this. And you can see that I used elements from the paper collection to make the little tabs, and I'll talk about the tabs, the clear tab things, in a little bit. So you get the idea there. Now, the initial plan with this one was that I was going to use my cinch machine to bind it, but when I got it all done and all those papers put together, it was super duper thick. So instead I just used the Crop-A-Dile and punched holes, and then I used these leftover rings from my Graphic 45 tag set. And then another way is, and this is something that I did this year, 2017, this was my planner. It was a composition book from Target, a decomposition book, and it's got bees all over it, so of course I had to have it. That's my thing. And then it's just a college ruled version, and I pretty much just did like my own hand-drawn in stuff with a ruler and some pens, and nothing has been done on the computer. It's all just by hand. But as you can see, this was a fun one because every page is just simply adorned with some washi tape and some stickers, not too cutesy, but kind of cute, like my little Starbucks stickers, and some fall. It was fun because I could kind of embellish according to season or whatever's going on. And you may have seen when I was flipping through back here that there's some photos on some of these pages. Well, that's when I use my HP Sprocket printer straight from my phone, and they just spit out these little cute 2x3 inch roughly photos, and it's a great way to just add that in there, almost like a journal, like a scrapbook of the year. Okay, so this brings me to my 2018 planner, which looks like this, and as you saw, it has the little tabs as well, and I hand wrote the months on here. But this started kind of from a kit that I had purchased, and this is from We Are Memory Keepers. Not sure if it'll be, I think I've seen this in the craft stores. It's actually called a journal kit, the Cinch Kit Journal, and it has pretty much everything in here you would need to create a little journal. So it's got some chipboard covers. It's got some lined pages, which are great. It's got some pocket pages that are made of craft. There's about 4 of those, I think. Yeah. And then it has the coil that you would put in at the end. And there's directions on how to do it. And it also came with these little guys here. Let's see if you can see those. It's hard to see because they're clear, but they're actually little clear tab stickers, and that's how I made my tabs. So I'll show you that in a moment. But it also comes with the little the tabs that go under the clear tabs. So I'll explain that. So everything was going great when I was making that one, except when I, this was the start of it. And when I got done, I was like, well, here's my cover and here's my pages, and if I put those tabs on, they're going to stick out past the cover. And I don't really care for that. I mean, the picture on the packaging shows it that way, but I don't care for that. I like for my tabs to be hidden, or at least flush with the covers. Because I have found that when I'm putting my planner in a tote bag or something, if those tabs are sticking out past the cover, they're going to get mashed, and it's happened. So that's why I kind of changed from the kit. I made my own adaptation to the chipboard sized covers to do this and have the tabs in there. Now, I kept this because I thought, well, I'm not going to waste it. So I basically used quite a few of the line pages in here, and some of the pocket pages I covered with pretty paper. And this will just be a notebook. So I got another B book here. And it's a lot thinner. It's very nice. I can travel with that one. And then my planner is quite a bit thicker. So on my original planner, I had covered the paper all the way out to the edges on the chipboard. But for this one, for the video, I decided to use some black chipboard, and I'm going to float the paper inside. So the chipboard I cut here is 6.5 by 8.5, and the paper is 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. And as you can see, I did both sides. So that's the front cover, and that's the back cover. Now, I did cut more paper from the paper collection. This is Graphic 45's Botanica Bella, by the way. So these are 5.5 by 8. And I just cut enough for, I think there's 12, obviously, for the 12 months. So these will be the monthly divider pretty papers that I'll add the tabs to. Instead, I decided to make my own tabs. Now there's a number of things you can use. So there's punches, like this old McGill punch I had forever. And I first started with that, and I hand wrote the month with white. It was okay. And then I went to this guy. He's kind of cute. You know, this is just a paper shaper's punch. And I like that shape, but I also wanted to, you know, have the month on there. And I hand wrote it, and I didn't like it. So instead, I went to my Cricut, and I created my own file that's very similar to that punch. And then I typed the months on both sides. And now I can fold them over and use them as tabs, and you can see the month from both sides. So my tab dividers I have fed through my little X Xyron. I did ink the edges with some brown ink first, and so I'll just peel this up. It's sticky on both sides now. And I did January already, and I started at the top. So I'm going to lay January underneath February when I go to place this. Lay that down so I get the right position. And right about there. And then I'll pick that up and fold that over. All right, so I'll go through and do all those. Okay, so as you can see, the 6 months fit on here, January to June. So when I start July, I'll start up here. I'll line it right up with January and finish out the rest of the year. For the month pages, I have provided a PDF, and I'm attaching the link here now. Each page is 8.5 by 11, and there's 2 months on each page. So all you'll need to do is trim this closely to each outline month. And the best way I found consistently to do this is trim off 3/4 of an inch off the whole bottom. Trim off a 1/4 inch from the tops. And then, you know, depending on your liking, I just pretty much made sure that each page ended up being about 4 3/4 by about 7.5. Okay, I've got all these on here nicely. Now, just a little disclaimer about PDFs. Sometimes they do funny things in transition, so don't hold me to those measures so much as just use your own judgment when cutting your PDFs after you print them. Sometimes funny things happen. Okay, so inside pages for the weeks. 8.5 by 11s again, provided for you in a PDF format. When I did my original planner with the bees, I did print my week pages back to back, so double-sided on one sheet of paper. So you won't be able to do that necessarily unless you're really clever and know how to work with your printer. And everybody's printer is a little bit differently. So this is why I provided it this way for you. So as you can see right now, like this is February 5th through the 11th. And if we just simply put it into the printer to print the next set of the pages, it wouldn't come out right by the time you close the page. It's something to do with signatures and printing and all that good stuff. So the best thing we can do is cut these pages apart. So I'll show you that next. So these pages will be, when you cut them down, they'll be 5.5 by 8 inch each. So you just have to take off 1/4 of an inch off the top and bottom. and then cut it at 5.5 right down the middle. Now here's where you'll want to make the decision, do you want your pages double-sided or not? They will not be printed double-sided, but you can make them double-sided by adhering them together. I just like that better. So my first page is the January 1, 2, and 3, and then it continues 4, 5, and 6, and 7 across. Okay, so then when I move on to the next page, I had to adhere this page to the back of this page. So a little tedious, but the nice thing about doing it this way is it makes the pages a little thicker, sturdier, and if you like to use markers in your planner, it won't bleed through. Okay, so I trimmed out all my pages. I glued all my pages together, and I timed myself on my watch. It took 9.5 minutes to trim all the pages, and then it took about 1 hour and 6 minutes to adhere them back to back. Now, one thing I didn't mention before is when you are planning out your pages, you definitely are going to have instances where you'll have a blank back side of a page, like the first half of January. The back would be blank and white. So I just used some extra paper that I had. It's a great way to use paper in your stash. And also this would be a great place to put little photos or, you know, add a little pocket and put in some memorabilia or whatever you want. Okay, let's bind this book. I'll be using the cinch machine, and I always do a little practice before I actually punch the actual cover because things have gone bad before. So you basically just cut it the same length as the piece that you want to punch. So this is 8.5, and you put it in. Now the only thing you need to know with this is you slide it all the way back in there, all the way to the back till it hits the wall. You punch all the holes. It's thick. Pull that all the way out, and you put your second to the last hole in this little space holder. Now I'm just going to pull out the 5th stopper, even though I think it's going to clear the cover, but I just need 4 more holes. Okay, good to go. So I'll do that to the other cover, and then I'll show you how I do the pages inside. Now, since my inside pages are 8 inches tall, not 8.5, I have to make a little bit of an adjustment when I go to punch these. And it's just in the placement. I did a little practice one to make sure. And you can see there's just as many holes as the cover, but these are going to be a little closer to the edge here. So what I did, I take about 4 of these at a time. Now remember, a lot of them are doubled, so it's actually about 8 sheets of paper. And I'll put it in here, but I'm not going to put it right up against this stopper. I'm actually going to move, there's a ruler on here, and I'm going to move it to 1/4 inch. This left edge is at 1/4 inch. And I'm going to punch. Now, just like before, you're going to take this and find that second hole from the right, line it up with that little stopper for position. That just aligns everything. And then punch again. My pages are all in the coils. That's all the pages. Now what I have to do is take the front cover and put it on. And then I take the back cover and I put that right on top. So that way when you go to cinch this closed, and you bring it around, then the overlap on the coils will be hidden on the inside. So this is 1 1/4 inch coils, and so I've set my cinch to 1 1/4, and I have to do this in 2 steps. So I'll simply put it in here and push it toward the back and crimp it, and then I'll move it down and do it again. Okay, and my planner is done. Looks good. So at this point you could decorate the cover if you like. You can hang some things off of here. You could add ribbon to tie it closed. Whatever you like. But I'm happy with it just like this, nice and clean and neat and ready to give to my friend. All right, thanks for watching everybody. Have a great day.